This is Stacey McKibben with the Master Communicator podcast, where CEOs, senior leaders, and C-suite executives share their advice. It's 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best leaders know how to share their ideas concisely and quickly. Let's jump right in. Question number 1. In a few sentences, tell me who you are and what you do.
My name is Barry O'Reilly. I'm a business advisor, entrepreneur, executive coach, and author. I've written a book called Lean Enterprise, How High-Performance Organizations Innovate at Scale, and Unlearn, Let Go of Past Success to Achieve Extraordinary Results. I advise lots of startups in Silicon Valley, part of Singularity University, and regularly write for The Economist.
That's incredible. So I'm looking forward to your insights in particular, getting the chance to actually interact with a bunch of different businesses. I'm sure you can take, an amalgamation from those and pull out some best practices from looking at them all differently. Question 2 for you. What's the best thing about leading people from your perspective?
I think the thing I enjoy most is when people actually achieve beyond their expectations that they have for themselves. And I've either helped them achieve that breakthrough or create an environment where they could achieve those types of breakthroughs. One of the things I continuously coach leaders on is this ability to unlearn, to recognize when their existing behavior is no longer working and they need to adapt to changing circumstances. And teaching people that system from Fortune 50 CEOs right down to startup founders here, the ability to see what people can actually achieve when they put their mind to it is astounding. So for me, that's hugely gratifying and rewarding to teach them my system and then see how they scale that to achieve extraordinary results.
I love the unlearn part because, again, it's kind of the antithesis of what you're usually thinking you need to do. And so I appreciate that perspective. I'm curious, thinking about that and changing behaviors. I often hear from other leaders that business would be great if it weren't for that pesky people part. I'm curious, what are your thoughts about that as you look at that through your systems?
Yeah, well, when I saw that question, my first response was, wow, I would never want to work with people who have that opinion. What I've discovered is that the responsibility of great leadership is to create systems where people can actually excel. And, if you've created a system where you don't know what people can do, if they're so disenfranchised, if they're so disengaged that you feel like they're dead weight or inhibiting you moving forward, that's on you. And I think it's really weak of people to sort of say, this company would be great if it wasn't for the people. So I think, and if I ever heard people say that statement, that would be a signal for me that they're not the kind of people that I would be interested in working with.
I love that. Again, the ownership component of taking responsibility for the outcomes that are being generated there is essentially what I'm hearing you say.
Well, it's one of the things I've learned from coaching high performance leaders. They own the results. If things don't work, they recognize that they have to need change to get the results they want. They don't blame other people. And again, as I'm coaching people, how this ability to unlearn, like recognize that your existing behavior is limiting your outcomes. So you've got to adapt. It's not blaming the other person. It's not feeling sorry for yourself or putting it down to luck. It's owning the results. And then how are you going to do something differently to affect the results you want to get? And I think that's what high performance leaders do. The people who sort of would be great if all these people were in my way. That's like the poorest comment I think I'd ever see. I wouldn't even call that leadership.
I love that. What other successful business leaders like yourself should be on the podcast? In other words, who should we be paying attention to?
So 2 people came to mind for me. One was Kanika Tolver, really interesting lady. She's an executive coach, primarily works with minorities or people who are often discriminated against. And she's worked in federal government. She's worked in entrepreneurial ventures. She writes for Entrepreneur. She's coached lots of people how to go through career rehab or find the job that they really want to do. And I think she's doing some really amazing work, is inspiring for me. And I think someone definitely I'd encourage you to reach out and check out. Another lady I think is doing some amazing stuff around product discovery is Teresa Torres. So Teresa was the CEO of a startup here in Silicon Valley and then decided she wanted to start coaching other people how to do product discovery and identify new products and services or teach them how to do it. So I think Both of those two ladies are doing some amazing stuff. They're really practical, they're really nuanced, and they're doing it. You know, they're not talking theory, they're actually great practitioners and helping a lot of people get amazing results from working with them.
Love that. Again, people out there making a difference. And I'm not too sad to hear it's the ladies. I'll give a little shout out to the female gender over there. What piece of advice about communication would you give to other leaders?
And I think being vulnerable is probably the most important part because it's authentic. You know, the best leaders I've worked with, you know, admit and recognize when they've made mistakes to humanize themselves and their teams. They're not trying to always know all the answers or have all the answers. They just have great systems to figure out what the right answer is. And again, like they're the kind of people that I tend to gravitate to work with and work well with, where there's humility, vulnerability, authenticity, you know, people who recognize that it's building great innovation systems to figure out the answer, not having all the answers. And I think if you're that type of leader, well, I'm definitely the type of person that you should be thinking about working with.
That's great. All right, my magic question number 6. Tell us about your favorite boss or teacher. Who's really influenced you?
Well, someone who's top of mind for me at the moment is Dr. Ed Hoffman. He was NASA's first chief knowledge officer, and he built all the knowledge programs within NASA after they had the Columbia and Challenger disasters. You know, and I think today we're just a few days out from SpaceX launching and starting to send people out into the moon and space again. And, you know, it's kind of poignant for me. I was thinking about, you know, the way I connected with Ed is, you know, he also wrote a book and it was called Learning and Unlearning Knowledge. And, you know, NASA had a problem with him using the word unlearning because he was like, at NASA, we only learn, we don't unlearn, which I thought was kind of interesting and funny. And that brought us together. And he's been a great sort of teacher, advisor and friend for me for the last number of years. As we go on this journey, I think we're in a very unique time. People are experience shifts in change and uncertainty in situations they've never experienced before. And we're doing it globally. You know, so I think a lot of these methods that have worked for us in the past are no longer going to work. We actually were forced into adapting. And I think this is why this notion of both learning and unlearning to relearn the skills you need to be successful in the future is such an important skill right now. So I'm inspired by both the work Ed did at NASA and then hopefully the work other people will do to apply this method wherever they are.
Well, and again, you make me think that unlearning is in and of itself learning. So while it might be pivoting or changing, that you know, you're doing something different, and I think that's the goal.
Right, and the way I talk about unlearning is it's a process. It's about reframing once useful mindsets and acquired behaviors that were successful in the past, but now limit your results. So it's not forgetting or discarding your existing knowledge. It's making space for new information to come in, so you can inform your decision making and action. It's a system to continuously adapt to changing circumstances, and we're only going to experience more and more change at a higher velocity and frequency. So this ability to adapt our behavior is going to be a perennial skill, not only for today, but accelerated in the future.
Well said. Well said. I couldn't agree with you more. I think the speed of change and the ability to harness it will be the new competitive advantage. You know, thank you so much for being on the show. If somebody wanted to reach out and learn more about your programs and just meet you or, you know, talk with you, what would be a great way to do that?
Yeah, my website's barryoreilly.com. I'm on Twitter, you name it with Barry O'Reilly, that's something. You know, and if you're interested to find out more about how to unlearn, you know, the book is available on all good bookstores. It's on the internet. Type in Unlearn or Barry O'Reilly, and I'm sure you'll find me and reach out and connect.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for your contribution and your time today. I really appreciated your insights. And for more ideas and insights, please do go check us out at www.concilioteam.com. Thank you so much. See you next time.